Susan Boyle's life began on April 1st, 1961, in Blackburn, West Lothian, Scotland, a town near Bathgate. She was born the youngest of 9 children in a working-class family. Susan's mother, Bridget, gave birth to her at the age of 47, despite medical warnings that it could jeopardise both her life and Susan's. Her early years were marked by challenges, as she was later labelled as having mild brain damage from a difficult birth. This diagnosis caused lifelong struggles, especially in school, where Susan was treated as a slow learner. She faced bullying and cruelty from her classmates and even suffered physical punishment from teachers, which deeply affected her sense of self-worth. Home life was no easier, with her father, a war veteran, struggling with mental health issues and anger, often taking it out on Susan. A difficult childhood and family struggles. Susan's childhood was filled with emotional and physical pain, largely due to her father's volatile behaviour. He had returned from World War II with scars that made him prone to anger and unpredictability. Despite enduring his outbursts, Susan later expressed love for her father, believing he fought inner demons. In addition to the abusive home environment, Susan also grappled with epilepsy, which caused fainting spells at school and led to further bullying. Her classmates mockingly called her names, while the teachers did little to intervene. These years shaped Susan into a quiet and introspective person, but also instilled in her a quiet resilience that would carry her through later challenges. The discovery of Asperger syndrome. A life rewritten. For almost 50 years, Susan carried the weight of a diagnosis that wasn't accurate. In 2012, at the age of 51, Susan was finally diagnosed with Asperger syndrome, a form of autism, and it came as a revelation. This new understanding explained many of her struggles and cleared away the misconceptions about her intelligence. Susan had been misunderstood for much of her life, being treated as less than because of her past diagnosis. This new clarity gave her a sense of pride and relief as she realized that the struggles she had faced weren't a reflection of her intelligence or abilities. For the first time, Susan understood that her mind worked differently, and this understanding began to heal old wounds. The tragic loss of love and devotion to family. Throughout her life, Susan struggled with relationships. When she was 25, she fell in love for the first time, but it ended tragically when her father intervened and ended the relationship without Susan's knowledge. The man she loved moved on quickly, starting a family with someone else, leaving Susan heartbroken. This experience shattered Susan's ability to trust and left emotional scars that would affect her future relationships. Despite her own dreams and desires, Susan stayed at home, serving as a caregiver for her aging parents. She sacrificed her personal ambitions to look after them, particularly her mother, who lived into her 90s. This devotion to her family, while admirable, left Susan feeling trapped, isolated, and without the opportunity to pursue her own dreams. A failed attempt at fame, My Kind of People, and Setbacks. Susan took a bold step in 1995, auditioning for a TV show called My Kind of People. Though she had performed in local settings, this was her first attempt at national fame. Nerves overcame her, and she couldn't perform at her best, ultimately failing to make it on TV. The rejection was a devastating blow, but it didn't deter her from singing. She continued to perform locally, holding on to her dream. In 1999, Susan recorded a song for charity, but the record sold only a few hundred copies, and her voice remained a hidden treasure to the world. She tried again in 2000, recording a demo, but the response was the same. Silence. These failures made Susan feel invisible, as though no one wanted to hear her voice. The loss of her sister, and the silence that followed. In 2000, tragedy struck again when Susan's beloved sister Kathleen passed away suddenly. Kathleen had always been Susan's biggest supporter, and her death sent Susan into a deep emotional spiral. She withdrew from her musical ambitions entirely, unable to bring herself to sing for nearly 2 years. Her grief silenced her once again, leaving her to retreat further into isolation. During this period, Susan focused entirely on caring for her aging mother, Bridget. Her world became smaller as she became consumed by loss and sorrow. The pain of Kathleen's death left a void that no amount of singing could fill, and Susan's dreams seemed to fade into the background. A promised return to music, Britain's Got Talent audition. In 2008, 2 years after her mother's passing, Susan made a vow to her late mother that she would pursue her dreams of singing. This promise led her to audition for Britain's Got Talent at the age of 47. At this point, Susan had been living a reclusive life, with little hope of ever achieving fame. But when she stepped on the stage at the Clyde Auditorium in Glasgow in 2009, no one expected what was about to happen. Dressed in a simple gold-lace dress with her hair untidy, the audience and judges greeted her with skepticism and laughter. However, when she sang I Dreamed a Dream from Les Miserables, everything changed. Her powerful, emotional voice stunned the judges and the audience, and the room fell silent, giving way to a standing ovation. This performance marked the beginning of Susan Boyle's meteoric rise to fame. Overnight fame, the global phenomenon. Susan Boyle's audition went viral almost immediately, with millions of people watching the video online. Within days, her audition clip became a sensation, spreading across the globe. Susan's story of an ordinary woman with extraordinary talent touched hearts worldwide. She became a symbol of how easily we judge others based on appearances and how true talent can come from anywhere. The judges, especially Simon Cowell, were left in shock at her performance and even admitted to their initial skepticism. As her fame skyrocketed, celebrities like Demi Moore and Ashton Kutcher tweeted about her, and news outlets around the world covered her story. Susan Boyle was no longer just a local singer, she was a global star. The unexpected loss in the final and the aftermath. By the time the Britain's Got Talent final arrived, Susan Boyle was the clear favourite to win. Her audition had been watched by millions and the public was rooting for her. But when the votes were counted, Susan came in second place, losing to the dance group Diversity. The shock was immense. Viewers were stunned, and rumours swirled about Susan's reaction backstage. Some reports claimed that she threw a fit, while others said she was devastated. Despite the disappointment, Susan was graceful in defeat, congratulating Diversity and expressing her support for them. However, the pressure of fame was beginning to take its toll, and Susan's mental health began to suffer. Struggles with mental health and media pressure. In the aftermath of the Britain's Got Talent final, Susan Boyle's emotional breakdown led to her hospitalisation at the Priory Clinic in London. The intense media pressure following her loss contributed to her exhaustion, and she was reported to have had a public outburst. This moment underscored the price of sudden fame and the harsh realities of being thrust into the spotlight. The media, relentless in their pursuit of stories, invaded Susan's privacy, causing further harm. Even Simon Cowell, who had witnessed the strain, offered to tear up her tour contract if she wanted out. This unprecedented gesture highlighted the pressures reality TV contestants face and marked a turning point in how the industry would handle its stars. Triumphant return, a star reborn. Despite the emotional toll, Susan Boyle made a triumphant return just days after her breakdown. She joined the Britain's Got Talent tour, performing in 20 out of the 24 dates. Her comeback was met with standing ovations and praise for her resilience. She proved that her initial success wasn't a fluke, and her performances were met with widespread admiration. Susan's story of perseverance and strength continued to inspire millions around the world. She had become more than just a contestant on a TV show. She had become a symbol of overcoming adversity and following one's dreams, no matter the age or circumstances. Chart topping. Success, a dream realized. In November 2009, Susan Boyle released her debut album I Dreamed a Dream, which shattered records worldwide. In the UK, it sold more copies in its first week than any debut album in history, surpassing even Leona Lewis. In the US, her debut album broke records for a solo female artist, selling over 700,000 copies in its first week. By the end of the year, Susan Boyle had sold over 10 million copies globally, outpacing major stars like Eminem and Lady Gaga. Her album became the most pre-ordered in Amazon's history, proving that Susan Boyle was not just a viral sensation, but a legitimate force in the music industry. She had gone from a small-town woman with big dreams to an international superstar, showing that it's never too late to achieve your dreams.